Hello and welcome to EweSew You. My name's Zoe and this is my channel all about the crafty bits and pieces I get up to. I knit, I sew, I spin on a drop spindle, I dabble in weaving from time to time and anything else that takes my crafty fancy really. Now this week I have a weaving to finish off, tidy up and get off the loom, and I thought we'd have a bit of a chat about learning new crafts whilst I do that. So put your feet up, grab a brew and let's get started. Welcome back to any returning viewers and to any new viewers, a very warm welcome to you. Now, as I was saying in the opening to this video, I have a weaving to finish off. That's this weaving here. So I've done all the weaving. As you can see, I've graduated onto a proper tapestry beater rather than a kitchen fork. So I've now done all the weaving on this particular project. But I've got some tidying up to do to get it off the loom and all that kind of thing. So now that I've done that, I thought I would take the opportunity to respond to a comment I had on the last video where I showed you this weaving in progress. And that was, I was asked if there were any crafts that I couldn't do. So now that I've got this done, I'm going to get the tidying up done, get it cut off the loom and just chat whilst I'm doing it. So it's going to be a little bit of a different video, but that's fine. So let's have a little look at this weaving first. It's mostly done in plain weave or tabby weave, a few ryo knots at the bottom for these fringes, and I've done some twining at the top to hold the warps steady as I take it off the loom, and I've also done a hem stitch at the bottom, so you'll probably get a closer up view of that once it's off the loom, so it's going to be a bit easier to do that than it's a 60 by 60 loom, so it is quite sizable to get in the shot here. So I'm going to set up the camera to show you how I finish that off, and yeah, so they'll be able to watch me sewing in those ends and things whilst I have a little bit of a chat. Okay, so let's get going with that. Okay, so there are a few things that I just wanted to explain about doing multiple crafts, because I am a bit of a dabbler. I do tend to try my hand at all sorts of things, and it means that I often have multiple projects on the go at the same time in multiple different crafts, and it can take ages to get a project finished because of it, but it does mean that I have always got something on the go that I can pick up and get on with no matter what my mood is. So that's a big benefit of being multi-craftual. If I'm not in the mood for knitting, I can do some sewing. If I'm not in the mood for sewing, I can do some spinning. If I'm not in the mood for spinning, I can do some weaving. You get the idea. So yeah, I've always been a little bit like that. I've always had lots of things on the go. And I've always had lots of projects that never get finished because of it. But there we go. That's what I'm like, and I don't think I'm the only one that's like that. For some people it's lots of projects in the same craft, and for me I like to have the variety. So learning different crafts, learning multiple crafts can mean that it takes longer as well to see progress in the skills that those crafts require, so it can get a little bit disheartening sometimes. So I do sometimes find that there are crafts that sit on the side for ages not getting worked on. Spinning is a key one for that, actually. I picked up my first spindle at a... Well, it was an event at an animal shelter to raise money for the animal shelter, but it was a fair for LARPers and cosplayers, and I was doing a play there, because of course I was. So I picked up my first spindle there, I picked up my first heddle there, and some tablet weaving cards. So card weaving actually is another one that I haven't done for ages. The spindle wasn't the best for a beginner. The fibre wasn't the best for a beginner. So I had a little go, and it just got put to one side, and it took me years to actually come back around to it and pick it up and try again. Weaving was a little bit the same. I've done fits and starts of small, narrow weavings, and I'm now just starting to do big weavings many, many years on. So yeah, you can feel a little bit not good enough to be doing this craft, particularly when you've got other crafts that you find easier, that are more straightforward for you to get on with. So they're going to appeal more to you if you don't have the time and the headspace to sit down and figure out this new craft. But I mean, that's okay. I also find that I get distracted by new crafts quite a lot. I spent a lot of time in my last place working on diamond painting. I still need to finish that project actually. That's another one that's been sat around for a while. I spent a lot of time in this property when I first moved in, getting some embroidery done or some cross stitch done, and just not focusing on the other crafts. The tapestry weaving is my current one that's taking over from most of my other crafts, apart from obviously my deadlines, because I'm in the mood, in the zone, to explore that new craft down that rabbit hole for a bit longer. So yeah, you can get distracted by different crafts from time to time, but I don't necessarily see that as a problem. Because I'm not doing most of my crafts to a deadline, the one exception being my Minerva sewing projects, it doesn't matter if it takes me longer to finish a project. It doesn't matter if I go down a rabbit hole and focus on one particular craft for a couple of months and neglect the others, in effect. I do my crafts because I enjoy doing them and because I want the outcome. So yeah, schedules don't really matter too much when it's a hobby. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the mindset that you need for learning new crafts and learning new skills, learning new anything really. If you're not afraid to make mistakes, then you can pretty much learn to do anything that you put your mind to. It's about having a growth mindset. So that's basically understanding that talent is not a fixed, natural, you're born with it thing. That's not to say that natural talent doesn't exist. It absolutely does. But talent is something you can build on. It's something you can develop on. You can progress your skills to another level, no matter what your starting point is. So it's learning from mistakes and developing what you can do. So you can take something you've never done before, and just with a little bit of focus, a little bit of trial and error, you can get to quite a good standard. And that's very much how I approach pretty much anything. It's how I've learned languages. It's how I've learned to play with steam trains, which is something I did as a teenager. I don't do it anymore, but I used to every year go to a preserved railway and look after the locos and learn to fire them and how they work and that kind of thing. But that's an ability level that you develop. It wasn't easy, and when I started doing it, I was one of very, very few girls in the loco shed getting dirty and working with the locomotives. There are a lot more now, which is fantastic. But yeah, you develop these skills. When you think about the way children learn, they learn by making mistakes. They learn from their mistakes. They don't go, oh, I'm never going to walk, it's way too hard. Never going to learn to speak, it's way too hard. They start from not being able to do any of it, and barring some kind of barrier to them progressing, which could be a learning disability, a physical disability, anything like that, that's going to make it a little bit more significantly challenging to pick up new things. Not to say that can't be done, it absolutely can. It just needs to be done in a different way. But kids just see what they want to do and they go out and do it. And until somebody tells them they shouldn't be able to, because it's hard. If you don't tell a kid that something is hard, they will not think it's hard. They will just get on and do it. And they will find their ways around the barriers that get built up for them. Again, learning disabilities, physical disabilities. These kids learn how to do things in a different way. It may take them a little bit longer. There may be some things that they're not going to learn. Somebody who is completely deaf, for instance, is going to take a lot longer to learn to speak if they choose to learn to speak. They may actually choose to learn to communicate in a completely different way. But that mindset that kids have of, here is a challenge, here is something I want to achieve, I'm going to go ahead and do it, no matter how long it takes me, that's growth mindset. And that's how you get to the best level for you in any particular skill. I know I've digressed a little bit off crafts with that, but I think it's a clearer example than I could make with crafting. And I think essentially when you're learning something new, you need to remember that perfection is a myth. Say that again. Perfection is a myth. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice can only make progress. and that's actually more important. I don't think I would actually bother doing a lot of stuff if they came super easy to me and I got them absolutely 100% correct every single time. There's no interest in that for me. There's no challenge there. I like to be challenged. I like to be able to assess what I've done and how I can improve on it, how I can get better at it, how I can aim towards what I need to do in order to get towards my aim, my goal for that particular skill. And the weaving is a case in point. I am an inexperienced weaver. Not that I haven't woven before, I have, but like I said, I've done narrow bands, inkle bands, and they're not brilliant either. They need a bit of development as well. But the key thread in what I need to do to improve my weaving of any kind is work on my tension. My tension's inconsistent. You can see it in the big weaving. The sides come in and out where they should be straight. The wefts have warped up into curves, so again they should be straight. So that's my next goal for progress for weaving, is to improve the consistency of my tension, so that I can build on other skills afterwards. So I can, once I've got my tension right, I can then look at colour management. I can look at developing different techniques and different ways of being creative with weaving. So there's lots I can do from there. This big weaving that I'm working on now, that I'm finishing off and taking off the loom today, that's kind of my benchmark that I can then assess future weavings against. So yeah, so that's my thoughts on learning new crafts and being multi-craftual. I love it. It's very me. It's not everybody, but it's very me. So yes, I hope you found that interesting and or useful. I aim to put a video up every weekend. So if you like what you see, like and subscribe down below and ding the notification bell and all the things YouTubers tell you. And I will see you again next weekend. Bye bye for now.